Well, does anyone else like being in control? Is it just me? Like having things your way, having freedom to do what you want. Think you got it all figured out. Think you can do things on your own. I'll be the first to say that this is me more often than I would like to admit. And I feel like God keeps reminding me of all of the ways that I am not in control. I was thinking this week, it's been a whirlwind, and that just thing after thing, it's almost like these kind, little, loving slaps in the face. But what really got me started, and I won't share everything, but just what is pertinent, what really got me started thinking about all of this was I was preparing for a trip this week. This past week, I got the opportunity to go to a conference with other pastors on our district. So Sunday night, I made sure I got all my things packed up and prepared for travel on Monday. But when I woke up on Monday morning, I got an alert that our flight had been delayed by like 7 hours. And so I was kind of annoyed, as one is, because I was excited and just wanted to get going already. And now I didn't know what to do with my day. Do I try to go into work for a few hours? Or do I get a head start on this sermon? And my ride to the airport, they could only take me in the morning. So I'm like, what do I do? And then we got the notification that our flight had been canceled and that they can't get us out until the next day at 6 p.m. So I realized pretty fast that I was not in control and that I was at the mercy of a lot of different variables. So our wonderful DS, he scrambles to figure out what we're going to do and eventually lets us know that he has rented a Suburban and that we will be driving 9 hours down to Orlando instead of, I was not prepared for a 9-hour drive when I went to bed on Sunday morning. I was looking forward to a nice, easy hour and 20-minute flight on Southwest Airlines with my free complimentary drink and my little pack of pretzels. And, yeah. But all that to say, we made it down there. We had a great week. But I tell you all of this because it brought me to reflect more on the season of Lent, this season that our church is traveling through right now, the 40 days leading up to the death and resurrection of Christ. And it reminded me that I'm not in control, that I am dust, and to dust I shall return. You'll remember hearing that as ashes were placed on your forehead on our Ash Wednesday service. Lent is the time where we are reminded that we are dust, but that we are a beloved dust that God breathes life into. Just as he created Adam in Genesis 2, God is the sole source of true life, purpose, and meaning, breathing life into us. Without God, we will always be lacking because we are dust. Yeah, apart from God, we could maybe climb the societal ladder, could drive a fancy car, force our ways into positions of power. But in the deepest part of our being, we will always feel empty because we have not allowed God to breathe life into us and have not recognized our dependence on God and our need for a Savior. So, that whole travel debacle was on Monday. On Wednesday morning, I got a text from my pregnant sister that she was having contractions. Actually, it was from my mom. Pregnant sister was a little busy. Um, then on Wednesday evening, a call came letting me know they were on their way to the hospital. And when they got there, they checked in, but she wasn't quite ready to be admitted. They live a little ways out from the hospital, so once the contractions were close enough together, they kind of wanted to just get there and be prepared. They've already had one, so they kind of know how it works now. But they got there. She wasn't quite ready, so she walked around, tried to speed up the process, and I think about an hour later, she was ready to be admitted. But even then, things were progressing slowly, more slowly than she would have liked, especially with a second. So she got up and would walk regularly and go bounce on the giant medicine ball thing and do whatever else women do to try to speed up the process of labor. And I will be the first to say I am no expert on this topic, and I don't know how it all works, and I just want to say that women are absolute rock stars for what they do. But with that being said, this all got me thinking about how pregnancy and labor also relate to the season of Lent. Before I share my reflections, I will let you know that she had a smooth delivery the next morning, and that baby Henry is as cute as can be. But it got me thinking about when someone is pregnant, they try to plan and prepare and map out the pregnancy and have healthy practices and go for regular checkups, but really, most of the growing and the development of the baby in the womb is kind of out of their control, right? It is only by God's intelligent design of the human body that new life is developed and brought forth. The mother can't just sit there and will that baby to develop and form in her womb. She can't control when it wants to grow, when it wants to move and kick around, and what position it wants to take up in the womb, what color eyes it's going to have, or what gender it's going to be. It is God's breath that breathed life into the mother and that formed this human body in such a way to be a vessel to bring about new life. During waiting and labor, I can only imagine that the mother comes to realize that she is at the mercy of someone and something else. She is at the mercy of her body, waiting for her body to be fully ready to give birth. And she's at the mercy of the baby, and when the baby is ready to come out. She can't will her water to break or force the baby to come out this instant. Friends, we cannot bring about new life or life to the full on our own, no matter how hard we try. It is all God's doing and what God does within us. And this brings us to our passage today, Ezekiel 37, if you would like to turn there with me. The people of God have yet again been unfaithful to their covenant with God. Sound familiar? They have turned to worship other gods, even in the temple. And this has led to rampant social injustice and violence. And eventually, God removed God's presence from the temple altogether. Instead of acknowledging their dependence on the giver of life, they at times tried to do things on their own, or thought that they could find fullness of life in other gods, inanimate objects, money, and political leaders. And where did this get them? Exile in Babylon. Ezekiel 37, 1 through 14. The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. He asked me, "Son of man, can these bones live?" I said, "Sovereign Lord, you alone know." Then he said to me, "Prophesy to these bones and say to them, 'Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord.' This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make flesh come upon you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life. Then you will know that I am the Lord." So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones started to come together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, "Prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, Son of Man, and say to it, 'This is what the sovereign Lord says. Come, breathe from the four winds and breathe into these slain that they may live.' So I prophesied as he had commanded me, and breath entered them. They came to life and stood up on their feet, a vast army. Then he said to me, 'Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, our bones are dried up and our hope is gone. We are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord. And when I open your graves and bring you up from them, I will put my spirit in you and you will live, and I will settle you in your own land. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken, and I have done it, declares the Lord." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. This story, as peculiar as it may be, is an image of the spiritual state of Israel, whose infidelity to God had led them into exile, where many died physical deaths, as well as being a picture of their spiritual deadness. Any attempt to do life on our own, to will our way to success and prosperity, will only lead to emptiness, death, and decay. I am reminded that not only is the breath of God the thing that gives us life, but also, as I have said time and time again, God's original intention for his creation was to dwell together in holy communion, to be bound to one another in intimate relationship. In the book, The New Parish, the authors share a quote from Elizabeth Newman that gives us another way of looking at it. She says, "True freedom results from living in communion with God and others." The only hope for restoration is if God would again come and breathe new life into these dry bones. If God would perform a new act to once again make his presence accessible to his creation. But the problem is, remember earlier, I told you that at the beginning of the book of Ezekiel, God's presence had actually left the temple because of how bad Israel's infidelity to him had become. God's presence had left them, and they did not know if it would ever come back. Until Ezekiel starts to prophesy about restoration, that the Lord will come back to them and that he has not abandoned them, and again he will restore them and breathe life into them. And we get a better glimpse of how that this will be brought about a few chapters earlier, when God tells Ezekiel in Ezekiel 34 that God will send a shepherd from the line of David, a messianic prince, and the people of Israel will be a transformed people with the Spirit of God. This is good news. That even in the midst of their sin and their blatant disregard for him, God will always make a way, once again, to breathe life into their dry bones. And I'm coming to a close. That's a quick one. But if my communion servers would like to come forward and start to serve. Here in Ezekiel chapter 34, God is, of course, talking about his son, the good shepherd, the Prince of Peace, the lamb that will eventually be slain. The living God came and dwelled among us, taught us how to live a God-breathed life, and then died a sinner's death on a cross and was raised 3 days later, defeating sin and death for good, removing any and every barrier that keeps us from relationship with God and the new life that comes with it. And when he ascended, he sent his Spirit to dwell in our hearts of all of those who believe and profess Jesus as Lord. And that Spirit of God lives within each of us and breathes new life into our dry bones, into this dust. And that Spirit is what guides us into all righteousness. But still, I believe it's a daily choice, a daily surrender to remember that true freedom is not doing whatever we want to do. True freedom is being bound together with God, and that fullness of life only comes from the breath of God that is breathed into our life when we are in constant relationship with him. And we participate in this practice of communion, this means of grace, to remember the great lengths that God went to so that his creation could experience life to the full through direct relationship with him. The one who breathes life into dry bones and desires all of creation to be saved.